One, two, test, one, two.
You ready?
The meeting of the Planning Commission will come to order. Please rise and follow Commissioner Duarte in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Will the Associate Planner please call roll?
Commissioner Duarte,
Present.
Commissioner Guerra,
Here.
Chair Ortiz,
Present.
and Vice Chair Uva is excused.
Thank you. This is time to set aside for all communications from the Planning Commission. Does any commissioner wish to make an announcement or report on a conference or a meeting or request items for a future agenda item? Commissioner Duarte,
None for me.
Commissioner Guerra,
None for me, thank you.
and I have none. Does the interim community development director have any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Does the interim community development director have a report on city council actions?
There are no report on city council actions tonight.
Does the interim community development director have any presentations for tonight?
No, not tonight.
It's going to be an easy night tonight. Moving along to non-agenda public comment. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for the public to address the Planning Commission on an agenda, consent, other businesses items within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission and not listed on the agenda. It is requested but not required that you state your name, address, and subject matter upon which you speak. Please limit your comments for non-agenda items to no more than 4 minutes. Pursuant to the Brown Act, no discussions or actions other than a brief response, referral to the city planning staff, or schedule for a subsequent agenda shall be taken by the Planning Commission on any issue brought forth under this section. I would like to emphasize that there is one other business item. There's no other items on the agenda, correct?
No, that's correct.
Thank you. Now opening to public comment, non-agenda public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak?
Good evening. I thought we were going to get a presentation on the Brown Act and hearing protocols. Question, is that for public hearing, protocols for public hearing, or is it just non-agenda items to comment? Because as far as the Brown Act goes, we'd like to see a copy of the Brown Act itself and see how the city thinks they can amend these sort of things when it comes to public comments. I don't think you can amend it. I think you have to go with what's already there. And you can't violate our First Amendment. You can't censor us, what you're already doing by shutting the camera off on public comments. This is a clear violation of our First Amendment right, especially at a sanctioned event, a sanctioned government event here in Downey. The federal rule overrides the local rule. Unless you're telling me something different. I mean, but that's what we were supposed to have a presentation about. Unfortunately, we can't even get a quorum for the city council meetings. They don't even show up now. Things are not going very well. We don't even have Miss Ty here anymore. We're filling in everywhere we can. You don't have the wall built over there, which was run through the Planning Commission over on Meldar. Things are not moving well. You're supposed to get things done, but empty promises. And these are your basic things that we need to do. And the Planning Commission is involved in issuing the permits, and it's just not being followed through with, unfortunately. And we can't even get a presentation tonight. We're supposed to have a presentation tonight. It's disappointing. So anyway, I would just like to say that it is not disrupting of any public comments are not disrupting, whether you think they're vulgar or any of the comments are vulgar or not. that is your opinion. That is based on your emotions. Those are subjective. I think some of the things that people say from the council are offensive. I mean, to come in here and we have a mayor that says that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. That is about as offensive as it gets. Pushing segregation like that, discrimination against American citizens. Anyway, unfortunately, we don't have a presentation. Sorry.
So I'll read this into the record. I oppose this fucking bullshit Brown Act you three fucking thieves could use, because money for this shit means humans need fucking money for laws. And because of these elected three fucking retards, mutants, every chance they get will mute us, censor us, and monitor our fucking speech and say it's hate speech when we definitely know that we're criticizing dumb white motherfuckers too. A study of it should be sent to the commission called the Brown Act, and you are fucking Downey taxpayers. Enough. So violations of the First and Fifth Amendment, 14th Amendment, Article Section 2 of the California Constitution regarding enforcement of unconstitutional rules of decorum. Fuck Downey on the Brown Act. Get your shit together. You're bullshit. Fucking thieves. And let's go through the terms. The terms are vague and lack adequate standards of guidelines for enforcement. 1. 2, it's directed towards intimidating by bringing up bullshit out of your assessment of the Brown Act, which, again, as you heard the public speaker say before me, that why the fuck have you not had the presentation on the Brown Act and the hearing protocols, Mr. Gregory, PFHOST, for the record? And then the third one is the most important one about these rules of decorum in the Brown Act. Lawful exercise of constitutional rights. Lawful exercise of constitutional right. So if I decide to call a dickhead an idiot, a moron, full of shit, and some fucking fat retard, what he means, I have that right. The Brown Act says I could criticize any dumb motherfucker I wish. Criticize. Now, if you want to say it sounds like a threat, well, let's take Bagdasarian versus the United States. Shoot the nigger with the .50 caliber soon or later. Let's take Cohen versus California. Is it offensive that some people have nice shirts that say fuck the draft, or have a big black cock on it so the caucus can suck it? Huh? So again, I am dying to hear about the Brown Act and the hearing of the protocols. Am I going to get that action tonight? Are you going to suppress that from the public like you've been doing with that fat mayor of ours from Downey? And again, the rules of decorum and their enforcement violate the First Amendment because they contain provisions which constitute impermissible prior restraints on speech. And when you take away the monitor, the program of YouTube, you are censoring people and you're depriving the public, whether they're retards, elderly, disabled, or just badass motherfuckers that want to get a laugh about you. They have a right to see it on YouTube. So that's fine. I don't need to see my fucking picture on YouTube because apparently San Gabriel Valley put a nice picture of me downtown in front of the Board of Supervisors, reminding Janet Hahn, fuck Janet Hahn in Downey. We need shit done now in Downey. So if you're going to vote for your supervisors in the coming elections, I would vote no and pick someone new who can actually fucking do something. Thank you.
Seeing there's no more speakers, then under agenda public comment is now closed. Moving on to consent calendar. Seeing there's no consent calendars to be approved, we're going to move on to public hearings. The conditional use permit for a new license cellular site PLN-22-00092 will be continued to date certain on May 17, 2023. May I have a motion to date certain?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
May we please take a vote?
The motion passes 3-0 to continue PLN-22-00092 with Vice Chair Uva absent.
Thank you. Now, this is a time to set aside for a public hearing for zone tax amendment PLN-22-00155. Does the associate planner have proof of publication?
Yes, Chair.
Will the interim community development director introduce staff making the presentation for tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chair, interim city planner Art Basmakian will present this tonight.
Good evening, Chair Ortiz and Planning Commission. The public hearing tonight is on zone text amendments to update the accessory dwelling unit ADU and junior accessory dwelling unit JADU regulations. So it's just a little background. Accessory dwelling units, ADUs, they're also known as secondary living units, granny units. They are basically additional dwelling units that are located on the same lot as a single-family residence or a multifamily residence. Typically, they're an independent living unit where you can live, sleeping, sanitary, and cooking facilities are provided. Just basically a complete dwelling unit. They could be attached to the primary unit, or they could be detached, or they could be contained entirely within an existing building. Junior accessory dwelling units, they're limited to 500 square feet in size, and they could be located within a single-family residence in the R1 zone, and they must have their own efficiency kitchen and a restroom facility, either independent or it could be shared with the primary residence. The city's most recent update to the AD ordinance took place in 2018, and that was in response to a couple of state laws, SB 1069 and AB 2299. Those laws eliminated the parking requirements in certain cases, and they mandated that ADUs be approved ministerially without a discretionary process like a conditional use permit. Well, since 2018, the state has enacted additional laws, and I've listed, I think most of them, I may have missed one or two. These laws effectively have reduced the ability of cities to regulate accessory dwelling units. And I've listed some of these standards. They're not exhaustive, but I'm highlighting some of them. Eliminated the minimum lot size requirement. They're clarified where ADUs may be allowed, basically in all residential zones. They prohibit maximum size limits that are less than 850 square feet or 1,000 square feet if it's 2 bedrooms or more. The cities must allow at least an 800 square foot accessory dwelling unit. There are minimum side yard setbacks and rear setbacks of 4 feet. And cities cannot require replacement of a garage if an ADU is constructed through demolition of a garage or conversion of a garage. Cities cannot collect impact fees for ADUs that are less than 750 square feet. Cities must allow an ADU and a JADU per lot. An application that's been received and it's deemed complete must be acted on within 60 days, otherwise it's considered deemed approved. Development standards must be objective. Correction of non-conforming zoning conditions, building code violations, or unpermitted structures that do not present a threat to public health and safety cannot be reasons to deny an application, an ADU application. And the most recent standards that came about from two laws that were passed last year, they have increased the height limits. Standard height limit for a detached ADU is 16 feet, but if it's within a half a mile walking distance to a major transit stop or high-quality transit corridor, it could be 18 feet, and even 2 additional feet to allow a roof pitch to be compatible with the primary unit's roof pitch. And for attached ADUs, the height limit is now 25 feet. JADUs are allowed within an attached garages, since attached garage is considered to be part of the dwelling unit. And there's also some limits on front setbacks. So the proposed amendment will replace our existing ADU ordinance, which is section 9414 of the zoning code. There are some additional definitions to clarify some of the terms in the ordinance that are not within 9414. And in a nutshell, the new ordinance follows the state standards as required by state law. Again, to emphasize that cities have very limited opportunity, and the state has been imposing these standards, and every year there seems to be additional laws and more restrictions. So a few highlights regarding the standards of the proposed amendments. Setbacks, minimum side and rear setback is 4 feet. There is no setback requirement if an ADU is constructed in the same location and to the same dimensions as an existing structure. Lot coverage and floor area ratio, it's subject to the underlying zone. Typically, R1 zone has an FAR and a lot coverage requirement. Parking, 1 space per ADU, and it could be on a driveway, it could be tandem. And there are exceptions, and the common exception for parking is if a site is within half a mile to a transit, like a bus stop. The cities, we also have architectural standards. For example, materials, colors, roof, windows must match the primary residence. There are additional standards that we have that relate to addressing some privacy concerns. So garage that's demolished in conjunction with the construction of an ADU or converted to an ADU cannot be replaced. The size, maximum floor area is 850 square feet for 1 bedroom or less, and 1,000 square feet for 2 or more bedrooms. This is primarily the main area where the state gives the city flexibility, but this is it. Per state law, you could go up to 1,200 square feet. Otherwise, the cities could opt for the more restrictive 850 or 1,000, but not less than these standards. The height standard for detached ADU is 16 feet or 18 feet if located half a mile of a transit stop or high-quality transit corridor. And as I mentioned before, 2-foot additional height is allowed to be aligned with the primary unit's roof pitch, and 18 feet if it's located on a multifamily, a lot with a multifamily structure. And for attached ADUs, 25 feet or the height limit of the zone, whichever is lower. Our height limit typically for the R1 zone is 28 feet, I believe, so 25 would be the height limit. There's also this, what's called a statewide exemption. Application of development standards such as floor area ratio, FAR, lot coverage, including the front setback and open space requirements cannot preclude the construction of at least an 800 square foot ADU. The city adopted its current housing element last year, and one of the programs, Program 1.4, stipulates that the city must adopt an ADU ordinance that reflects current state law. So this mandate, it's already been adopted, and mandated by the city, by Planning Commission's recommendation to the City Council when the council adopted the current housing element. So staff recommends that after Planning Commission conducts a public hearing, that it adopt attached resolution to your staff report recommending that the City Council approve the zone text amendments to the various sections of Article 9 of the Land Use section of the Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Does any of the commissioners have any questions for staff? Commissioner Guerra.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. I know this is frustrating, and we're going to get through this on there, but this is the most unreasonable things that Sacramento keeps doing on us. They keep pushing the regulations onto communities like the city of Downey, that's a built-up city, and demanding more when they don't live here. So it, to me, is silly. There's 11 laws to prohibit this. So I do have some questions, and I know it's not your fault because I know the city has officially fought these things. I'm just frustrated that they impose these against our will. So how many permits do we have in the works right now for ADUs? Do you know? I mean, roughly how many right now?
I might have to refer to staff because they take the applications, and ADUs are processed as plan checks. So typically, as a city planner, it doesn't come under my review unless if one of the planners could give a rough number.
Roughly, there's no, I'm not gonna hold you to it.
It may be difficult to get a rough number, but I will say 80% of our questions at the counter and plan check submittals are ADUs. It's very common.
Okay, but what I'm saying is are there, is it 10 questions or is it 150? I mean, you know what I'm saying is there a lot in the works that people want to do that? I mean,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So I mean, more than 50, 100 kind of thing?
Again, I don't have a direct number for it, but I think each planner at one point has 20 plan checks at a time. I think 80% of those are ADUs. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
it is a
crazy.
lot. Yeah.
That's crazy. If this is going to continue to change the face of our community, especially when it comes to parking and things like that, this is just absolutely crazy. Sir, how many, by changing this, how do you think this is going to impact the current ones or any potential ADUs on there?
So one thing I thought I mentioned, but I'll clarify. When the state enacted its laws, even the one after the city adopted its current version in 2018, it stipulates that if the city's ordinance is in conflict with the state, that it becomes null and void, and the cities have to apply the state standards. So basically, we've been applying the state standards all along. So this basically memorializes those standards that we've been applying with some additional controls on architecture and the size I mentioned earlier, the 850, 1,000 square foot.
Can I jump in just really quick? I was just curious because I know that we sent out a letter or something to Sacramento saying, hey, we're not interested in this. Any feedback back from those type of communications that we were opposed to this type of ordinance? I know we had
I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to guess that it's not unusual for cities to protest certain
Yes.
laws, and letters are sent to Sacramento. I'm sure that could have been a letter in opposition to certain laws that the state was enacting. But at the end of the day, once the state enacts that, then the cities are, as I said before, forced to comply.
So saying that and hearing that, so is this the most restrictive one that we can do within the confines of the law? In other words, following the law and the spirit, but is this as tight as it could go?
Yeah, there's not much left in the way the state has modified the government code with regards to ADUs. There's very limited opportunity. One, as I mentioned before, the cities could still apply architectural design as we do. You could do that. You could apply the front setback, which typically ours is 15 or 20 feet, depending on the zone. You could have additional standards, and the city's draft ordinance has some standards with regards to windows and the material to address privacy concerns. Cities could add additional criteria like landscaping to, again, try to buffer. But other than that, there's not much more. And remember, aside from everything else, you still have to allow at least an 800 square foot, even if it encroaches into a front setback.
So this says they can also be attached. Okay?
Yes.
They can be detached or attached. So does it need to have a separate entrance? And the reason I'm asking you, is it easier for me, let's say I want to add on to my house, to claim under the ADU law and add another 1,000 square feet? Does it get me through the city faster than if I call it an ADU? You see what I'm saying? Or do I need a separate entrance in the back and it needs to be closed off from the main house? So I'm just saying is, if I went to the city now and I just like, okay, I want to build an ADU on my house attached, okay? So it needs a separate entrance, I guess, or I'm looking to distinguish it. What distinguishes an ADU on my house attached from adding more square footage? Does it make it easier for the process or something?
They're both subject to the plan check review, so there's not a separate review as a planning application for an ADU, which adds additional time. The city has a more streamlined process, so all ADUs just go directly to plan check as an addition would. Okay. So, and it's just applying those standards. That might be some specific standards for ADUs that are addressed during the plan check.
Okay, thank you for that. Lastly, I see that the law says that you can't make parking a requirement or something to that effect. It's not required under JADU, right? So we can't, except we're making it, and I'm glad, but we're making it, you could use one of the driveway parking spots as to qualify for the one parking. I'm trying to justify the conflict.
So with regards to ADU, state allows the city to require one parking space, but it allows that parking space to be on kind of driveway. Okay. It could be tandem.
Okay, so.
And an exception, and I think probably most of the city may be exempt because of our arterials with the bus lines. Right. You probably have very few properties that are more than half a mile away.
Yeah, no, I thought of that, unfortunately, for all of us. And then lastly, because of the city of Downey has a lot of homes, and they were built, there's several tracts in the city, only have one garage, okay? They were built with smaller garages, and the driveway, they're still there. So if you already have one now, a garage, for one car garage, right, with one driveway there, can that be used as your one, or do you have to, or would that take away the whole house from qualifying for an ADU? So in other words, if you only have one driveway, can that be the one that's designated for your ADU, or are you disqualified?
If I understand the question, if you have one driveway leading to a single car garage, right, that driveway could be designated as the parking space for the ADU that might be built on that lot.
Even if you have a house, even if it's a house, so there's a driveway and a garage, you have a house now. So I'm going to build an ADU. I can't give myself any more garage or driveway, okay, because it's limited. It's already, we have a lot of those in Downey. The one driveway, one car garage. So I'm saying, is it okay to qualify that, or is that a reason? I'm looking for more reasons to turn these things down. So it's what I'm saying, because it's disrupting our neighborhoods.
So if you have an existing driveway, for example, it's a 20-foot deep driveway that leads to a garage, and
a one-car garage.
One-car garage, and actually the situation is the same. It could be one-car garage, and you could make that driveway as a designated parking spot for that ADU.
Even though then they wouldn't have any quote unquote any more driveway for the existing house.
Yeah, the way the state law is worded, that you have to allow tandem parking, and that would be a tandem situation, basically.
Unless they wouldn't have any room. Okay. So the parking issue is just nuts. It's like, we're a built-out city in certain areas to make us do more of that. So, and again, it's not your fault, and thank you for this. You guys have have done as much as you can under the situation, and I appreciate that out there. So thank you. No more further questions.
Commissioner Duarte?
No real question for me, just that, this is, not my first time we've had a presentation here, and I echo the frustration Commissioner Garrett states that this is kind of like a one-size-fits-all solution, and all the communities are different. So, with that, I know that we're limited, and the parking's always been a big issue with me with ADUs, but, it is what it is. It's just unfortunate that it is a one-size-fits-all solution, and communities are drastically different.
Yeah. You know what's also interesting is that there's no CEQA requirement. We're pushed CEQA on normal things that kill projects, and on something like this, you can't even use CEQA, even though that this is one of the reasons CEQA should have invented before, because it does disrupt things. Anyway, sorry.
I just want a little more clarification. I know that staff told us that about 80 to about 85 of your applications are about ADU, questions about ADU. Are those mostly residents? Or, because to my recollection, the last time we had a presentation, you're required to be a resident. You have to live there. Well, is there still a requirement? Or maybe I'm just misread some of that. Or do we
one of the changes in state law with regards to ADU, that was eliminated actually until 2025, but wouldn't be surprised that it would be extended or made permanent. There's discussion that there will be new legislation coming and modifying that criteria, where before cities could require the owner to live in one of the units. Again, that was eliminated, with the exception for JADUs. In a JADU situation, the owner has to be on the property.
Okay, so that was stripped, and now a developer can create multiple ADUs.
Well,
Or my question is, those 80 to 85 applications, are they mostly residents that are interested in building ADUs?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's always residents coming to the counter asking for it.
Okay. Yeah, I echo the same, sentiments of our commissioners, and I hope we can do something more, but we're a little strict. But thank you.
Sure.
Now I want to open up to public hearing. The public hearing is now open. Is there been any correspondence in favor or opposition of this application or the zone amendment?
No correspondence received.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of the application?
Stop it. You do what Gavin Newsom tells you, man. That's all there is to it here. There's no frustration here. You vote yes on this stuff every time. If there's really frustration, you have to stand up to authoritarians like the Democrats in this state. That's why people are leaving this state. But you have participated in this for the last 40, 50 years and created this atmosphere that has allowed these authoritarians to just cram this down your throat. And it started when you started allowing all the illegal alien relatives to come in here and sleep in the garage and out back. You can convert the garage. Chicago started taking care of that 30, 40 years ago. They made it legal to squat in your garage. Now we're going to get lectured about climate change. Density is bad, but we're going to add more density. But we'll take care of the busing situation if we're close enough within a half mile. Of course, we got a representative of the fictional District 5, and the old District 2 was going to get rid of our busing transit lines. So how are they going to get around? Well, they're going to take away your car too. Remember that. Don't forget that. So this is what the state has in mind for you. This is the authoritarians. And you're sitting here trying to appease them. You can't appease authoritarians. How do you deal with authoritarians? You tell them, no, we're not going to go along with this. Period. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Oh, we've got Blanca Pacheco representing us. She's going to stand up for us, right? I don't think so. I don't think so. She's going to go along with whatever they tell her to do because she is a political hack. That's all she is. She is a political hack. And that's all she'll ever be. She made Catherine Alvarez our mayor pro tem. That is a thing. Legacies are built of, I'll tell you right now. And she brought in a convicted drug dealing lesbian boxer to be as a role model to our Girls on Fire group. That's the role models we want for our young ladies here in Downey. Thank you, Blanca Pacheco, and the other interim city manager, assistant city manager. And they acted like it was a great thing. They even made the city assistant manager Woman of the Year, and they can't even define what a woman is because they're non-binary, so they don't really know what they are at any given moment. But the only way to deal with these people is not stop sitting there and saying you're frustrated. Say no. Mr. Duarte is the only one last time that actually stood up and said no one time. God bless you for that, by the way. Say no. That's what you have to do.
Do I get any time? 3 fucking minutes? You fucking kidding me? Look at ruminal number 7, other business, non-agenda, consent, calendar, and public comment. Only 3 fucking speakers in here. It says, please limit your comments to no more than 4 fucking minutes. And that fucking dickhead up there of District 5 is limiting me 1 less minute. What a fucking moron.
Topic, please.
That is a topic because,
the zone text
because I'm reading off the agenda,
PLN-22-
other business, non-agenda, consent, calendar, public comments. It says 4 minutes, and some fucking white wetback nigger only gave me 3 minutes. So I have a right to contest that. And Miss City Attorney, I'm going to put a cure and correct in this coming week that this fucking bullshit, don't write shit into the agenda if you're not going to live by it. I can see if there was a line of people in here, but it's only 7:14, goddamn asshole, and there's no line. So stop restricting our fucking time. Duarte, you should talk to that fucking clown right there because he's a fucking moron. Now let me go into this fucking item, you fucking dickhead, number 3. 800 square foot of ADU. Well, what is density? Density means that the state will impose. It means the state will follow Senate Bill 1069, Assembly Bill 2299. It means less parking. So density means you white niggers in Downey get less parking, and you're going to fight with your neighbors and your renters because everyone's saying, I own that piece of shit of land by the curb and I can park there, which is true. However, we like communities. We like living in our communities. We don't want to live like the fucking dogs like Horacio from Mexico. Right? Dogs. They fucking stack shit up, pile it in their garages, fill up their fucking yards with chinchero. And that's why that fucking 3 minutes is all about. Yeah, fucking wetback motherfuckers. So let's go back to the setbacks. 4 feet, I couldn't even fucking put a cornfield back there, Horacio. But you will fucking plant shit all over your fucking yard so it looks like your little inhabitants back down there by the border. Well, I'm not a border brother. I was never a border brother. I'm a Native American born in the United States because your fucked up country made these conditions of putting borders. In addition to the density, you know, a single family residence really in Downey, they're going away. Get the fuck out of Downey, sell your property, move to a small country where there's no hurricanes and tornadoes, and guess what? Take this as a threat to your health and public safety. Fuck Horacio for my 1 minute that he deprived me of. Fucking stingy piece of shit motherfucker. Yeah, and the same motherfucker is your governor from Sacramento and that stupid puppet bitch Blanco. Wetback piece of shit.
Well,
You should get 4 minutes, sir. You're the last speaker.
I know. If this has to do with your ADUs, when you made a question about, sending letters or whatever else, you could adopt an ordinance right now. The state, if they decide to play authoritarian with you, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Period. I mean, you and I both know that. If you did try to block somebody's right, then you could be bordering on 5th and 14th Amendments, the right of due process, and impairing and also causing what's called inverse condemnation. I don't like this any better than you do. I have a question so if I have curb parking up and down my cul-de-sac or my street, and I want to put in an ADU, do they not have the legal right to park on the street? Another question I would have about an ADU is, does that also give you the right to go into single family, demolish it, and let's say you want to build a fourplex? So long as I live in one of those, do I have a right to start putting that on a residential units? You, like all of our border cities, they're 50s, 60s, they're already almost all land built out. So all I'm saying basically is I don't like it when somebody shoves down my throat a dictatorial type ruling, and that's what we have in America, and that's what we have in California. So I'm saying you guys could all write letters, you do what you want, and I'm telling you right now, it's just a deaf ear. I'm not for this. I don't like changing the demographics of my community, but I don't see what choice we have. So I just wanted you to know that on the record. Thank you.
The public hearing is now closed. Does planning staff have any recommendations?
Yeah, the recommendation, as I stated earlier, is to adopt the attached resolution, which recommends to the City Council adoption of the ordinance updating the ADU ordinance. Thank you.
It is now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Guerra?
I am going to reluctantly have to vote for this because I don't want to put our city at risk of litigation, which we'll end up losing. So I appreciate staff on there. It took 11 laws. It's crazy. So yeah, we can't put ourselves in that peril on it. So I will begrudgingly be voting for it. It'll be one of the, yeah, that's it. I can't make it any clearer that this is stupid and wrong for Sacramento to do this to us.
Commissioner Duarte?
I have no further comments. I made my comments clear earlier.
And I have none. May I have a motion?
I'm not making the motion. I'm barely going to vote for it. I'm not making a motion on it. So.
Zone text amendment plan.
Yeah, okay. Motion to adopt PLN -22-00155, zone text amendment.
Mike, please, get here.
And then I'll second that. We have a motion by Commissioner Duarte, and I'll second that motion.
The motion passes 3-0 to recommend PLN-22-00155 with Vice Chair Uva absent.
Thank you. The action of the Planning Commission will now be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration. Public comments can also be provided at those subsequent meetings. Does the Interim Community Development Director have any other business to discuss for tonight?
No, sir, not at this time.
And does the Interim Community Development Director have any additional comments?
No, sir.
Do any of the commissioners have any last minute comments or anything they want to discuss? Commissioner Duarte?
No comments.
Commissioner Guerra?
Quick question. So when the recommendation goes up to the City Council, they'll get the minutes of this where we all objected to and did what we thought was the right thing?
Can we say
So
that?
the City Council will see that? What I'm saying, when it goes up to them, they will see our objections, unfortunately.
I'll hope to get the minutes done by that time. We don't plan to take this to council until June 27th.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
yeah, plenty of time. Okay.
Hopefully
But
we'll
I'm
have some
saying-
time to prepare the minutes and get that before you.
I guess what I'm asking is to make sure that our minutes are attached to the recommendation to them.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I have none. Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.